This is the Joe Mullins Show, showcasing the vibrant spirit of Florida and America's innovative creators. This is the place for captivating conversations, inspiring guests, and industry professionals celebrating the best place in the world to live, shop, work, and play. And now, your host, County Commissioner, entrepreneur, and freedom advocate, Joe Mullins.
And so if Gavin wants to come to Florida and campaign, he'll be quickly reminded that he's the worst governor in America. There is no way he's going to become the president of the United States. Because why would we have the worst governor run the country? Makes no sense at all, especially when you break down the facts. And Gavin can't stand on the facts. Nice hair, though, but can't stand on the facts. So I'm not worried about him.
Hello, Florida. This is Joe Mullins of the Live, Work, Shop, Play Show, and we have an amazing guest this weekend. Before I start, you can see the background. Now, the listeners on the radio, you can only imagine it. Beautiful weather behind us, only place in America that you can enjoy things like this. And in my opinion, when people ask what's the best place to go to in Florida, I go anywhere in Florida is amazing. It's been a great place to live, work, shop, and play. And it's because of strong leaders that we've had, local, state, and national. And with my guest today, he has been a national figurehead that has been really strong. It's Congressman Byron Donalds. Welcome to the show.
It's good to be with you. Thanks for having me on. And, I get to go home in a couple of days. I'm a little jealous. I'm in Washington, and it is not like Florida. I'll tell you that.
Well, a lot of us wanted to show you this area, and a lot of the listeners are excited about this interview, but they wanted to remind you, this is where you need to live and protect. And, I told him, I said, I don't think there's a problem with that. Congressman Donalds loves coming back. He has been all over now you lately have been all over the state of Florida, working hard, talking to people. You served on the state level of politics, and you now are national. But you have to be hidden under a rock to not know that you're running for governor. But we've seen a lot of crazy things lately. Let's talk a little bit about Congress first, and then we'll shift over to the state of Florida and its future and kind of what happened. What are some of the things that you are proud of this past year that y'all been able to achieve with President Trump in office?
That we were able to get his agenda through. Passing one big beautiful bill. I mean, there were so many things that we were able to accomplish in one fell swoop. No tax on tips, no tax on overtime. We gave the largest tax adjustment and credit ability for seniors on Social Security. We did some energy reforms in that bill. We were able to actually keep small business taxes low. They were set to expire from the original tax plan from the first Trump administration. We made his original tax cuts permanent. That's major for the United States. We actually put in there 100% expensing for businesses. So if a business went out and bought that piece of equipment, bought that new building, they could expense it 100% in the year that they did it, as opposed to depreciating the asset over 5 years or 7 years or 9 years. That's going to have a major impact, we believe, on business expansion in the United States. And then the biggest thing overall, and this is more the president 100%, he closed the border. He sealed it. He closed it. He secured it. That would not be possible if Democrats were still in charge. And that's to the credit of President Trump. In the president's agenda, we also made sure that the money he needed to start the deportation force for criminal illegal aliens, that got funded in this bill as well. So we were able to accomplish so much in one piece of legislation. Very proud of that accomplishment. And listen, getting anything done up in this town is tough. There were a lot of late nights, a lot of long conversations, long debates about what should go in, what should go out, but we were able to get it done. Oh, one other thing, Joe, we were able to do in the president's agenda package in the working families tax cut plan was national school choice. For the first time in the history of the country, there is now a national school choice tax credit for parents. This is phenomenal stuff. Myself and Senator Cruz, we spent time directly with the president and the White House team to make sure that that provision got into the bill and stayed in the bill, and the president signed that into law.
Now, you've been in the news constantly, but prior to this, you were in the news fighting with Biden continually. It was always a battle. How do you like your role as a congressman today versus what it was the last past 4 years prior? It seemed like nothing got done. You were constantly trying to fight for things that were American principles. And believe it or not, they were fighting against them and wanted to change all that. What is Congress like today?
Oh, breath of fresh air. I mean, look, Congress can still be frustrated. Let's be clear. There's things that I think still need to be moving and happening up here, but it's like night and day. Having a White House that you can engage with, talk about real policy, get real solutions for, working with the cabinet secretaries to fight for Florida and do great things for our state, it's like night and day. That previous administration, even Democrats couldn't get a hold of that previous administration. It really was awful. And the stuff that they got through was terrible stuff. I mean, that's how this inflation started. It was Joe Biden, Nancy Pelosi, and Chuck Schumer. They were in charge. They basically destroyed the economy coming out of COVID. Inflation went through the roof. Families were falling behind. Today, under President Trump, under the Republican control of both the House and the Senate, wages adjusted for inflation are rising in the United States. Under Joe Biden and Democrat control, wages adjusted for inflation were down. People were struggling. So I would tell you that's the number one thing that I think that's been the biggest difference. You have a president of the United States and a team over there in the cabinet that want to make America great again, working with Congress to get that done. And look, I'll tell you, it's still tough sledding to get things through Congress. It's not easy, but it's far better than what it was when Joe Biden and the Democrats were running this town.
Now, Congressman Fine was just on the show prior and gave a shout out about you and told us something that I think most of the state of Florida knows. The president called you to run for an office, a seat for the state of Florida to run as its next governor. He's given you a full endorsement. Congressman Fine was speaking about how great things were here and how important it is to continue. Florida's seen a lot of victories. A lot of people argue, and I will certainly. Florida saved the nation. If it hadn't been for Florida, this country probably wouldn't be what it is today. We've had a great governor, Governor Ron DeSantis. He's had his ups and downs, but he has overall fought hard to keep Florida the first state. What are your thoughts on this important to continue in Florida and then things that we need to do to improve?
Well, first, Joe, you're right. Governor DeSantis has done a tremendous job leading our state. We're the free state of Florida in large part because of his leadership during COVID-19. And so I want to let people know that none of that is going to change. We are going to continue to prioritize individual liberty and freedom and opportunity for everybody in the great state of Florida. We're the best state in the country. And what we need to be doing is building on the success of Governor DeSantis and then also expanding our economy, modernizing our state. We have roads we need to build. We need to make it easier for people to construct homes. We have to continue to decrease insurance in our rates. Insurance in our state that needs to come down. The governor and the legislature a couple of years ago did some very good reforms that are lowering the insurance loss ratios at these insurance companies in our state. More new insurance companies are coming to our state and they're opening in our state, and we need to continue along that trend line so we can start pushing insurance premiums lower and lower and lower. Is going to be very important. And then, of course, property taxes. I support the governor's position and what he's trying to accomplish. I look forward to seeing his plan and being able to support the ballot amendment when it comes to the ballot next year. But if they're not able to get that done this legislative session, and I don't think that's going to be the case, I think they are going to get it done. But if they're not, then we're going to take up the mantle my first year as governor, and we're going to get something meaningful done for the people of Florida. So we have a great track record in our state. It's one that obviously has been built through Governor DeSantis's time, but it's really been built over the last 30 years. We used to be a blue state, then we were a purple state for a very long time. Now we're a red state, the best state in America, and we're not going to give up that lead. I joke, but I'm not really joking with my colleagues in Texas and Tennessee, and I say, you guys got really good states over there. It's cool to be number two and number three, but you're not number one. That's Florida, and we're going to keep it going from here.
I love that. You know, Senator Scott was on it and he was talking about his time as governor and the time as senator, how important this role is. He's given you his full support. But he stated that we need to wake up, we need to pay attention. Just this latest election down in Miami, a 30-year stronghold. What is your take on that? And what kind of fear or concern, not fear. I don't want to ever put fear out there. That's a Democratic tactic. What kind of concern should we have for the state of Florida and the election coming up?
Well, first, let me talk specific to the city of Miami. I mean, the city of Miami, by voter registration, still trends Democrat. But let's not try to put our heads in the sand either. Number one, I think in that primary or in the initial election before the runoff, they had 13 Republicans and just one Democrat. I love primaries. Primaries are a part of our fabric. But when the primaries are done, we got to be one party and we got to be focused on turning people out to vote. Number two, it is an off year cycle in a weird time. I think the runoff was December 9th or something like that. So people are just come off Thanksgiving, they're thinking about Christmas. So it really then matters that the political apparatus of the candidate and his campaign, but also the party gets focused on turning out these voters. I think on a broader level, and I think that we got to understand two things going into the midterms. Number one, are Democrats motivated? Yes, they are. And so the way you deal with that is we have to be consistent on our policies. We have to continue to communicate with voters day in, day out about the success we're having, obviously in Florida, but also on the national level. And then the last piece of that is internally, speaking as a Republican in the party, we have to be focused on getting people to the polls, knocking doors, making phone calls, the bread and butter of how you win elections. You have to fight vigorously for that, whether you're a red state like ours, where we're winning by double digits, or whether we were that purple state about a decade or so ago when we were winning by 1%. It's about doing the little things. That's how you got to do it if you're going to be successful. So I think in the campaign season coming up, as far as I'm concerned, if I'm the Republican nominee, there will be no stone left unturned when it comes to getting voters to the polls and then taking our message to independents and even some soft Democrats and explaining to them that the policies that we support in Florida, the vision I have for the future of Florida, is in the best interest of the people of Florida.
And I think you hit a very valid point that many of the listeners need to understand. These primaries are important, but when the primary's over, you've got to support the candidate. We've seen a lot of areas. I know, in CD6, we see them divided and want to fight and argue and continual stuff. You see that in Lake County, some of the other counties. Um, you know, we tend to forget a Democrat coming in. We were very close to having a Democratic governor instead of Ron DeSantis. I was a commissioner at that time. There's no doubt in my mind we would be closed down still today if that had happened with the Democrat. We wouldn't have been open. We would not have been open.
Joe, and I'll tell you one better. I'll tell you one more. I was on the debate team. It was myself, Matt Gaetz, and Richard Corcoran. We were the debate team for Governor DeSantis. I was there. I remember that night. I remember talking to the team, being like, "Man, do we have this thing? Do we have the votes?" And we had it barely. And I think it's important. You brought up Lake County and some of the other issues happening around the state. CD6. Look, hold Republican members accountable. I firmly believe that. I'm a Tea Party activist. That's how I got into politics. So we would hold, whether it was the state legislature, state senator, member of Congress. Yeah, there were key things we wanted to see. But what we also have to do while you're holding that member accountable or making sure that you're fighting for the principles that you believe in, remember the overall goal. The overall goal is not just to fight amongst yourselves, to fight amongst yourselves. The ultimate goal is winning and then institutionalizing your agenda. Dan Webster, member of Congress up here, Dan was the first Republican Speaker of the House since Reconstruction, right? When Florida started turning purple, frankly, from blue. And I asked him one time, I said, what did you guys do to take over the state? And he looked at me and he said, we let the Democrats fight each other.
Hi, hello. My name is Alberto Domenech. Welcome to Latino Market with the owner, Janelli and Alberto Domenech.
Welcome to Latino Market, Dominic's Corner. Anytime, everybody's welcome.
And so when the Democrats had full control, they were fighting each other nonstop and they lost sight of the goal. We cannot let that happen. I'm all for primaries. That is what we do. That's what we're about. Like I said, I'm an activist, so I believe in the political process. That's how I got into politics before getting elected to the state house and coming to Congress. But when these elections, when these primaries end, we got to be united. We got to be focused because any Republican, top to bottom, doesn't even matter. They're all better than Nancy Pelosi. All of them. All better than Nancy Pelosi.
I was going to say a Democrat, a Republican you don't like, is a lot better than a good Democrat. A good Democrat is going to be hurting the community, hurting their agenda is just off. That's what you got to understand.
That's right.
Their agenda's off. So you want the worst Democrat you can possibly get in there as far as effectiveness. But to me, the Republican, you just don't chance that. We've got a lot of areas now. We just started recently airing in Sarasota, which is getting closer to your neck of the woods where you originally hail out of. A lot of people are concerned with the storms, how FEMA responded, how the history has been with it on the federal level. As a governor, how would you make sure that this state is well protected and not ending up like North Carolina and some of the other states that are still struggling years later?
Well, it's a great question. I know in my congressional district, I was impacted directly by Hurricane Ian. It made landfall in my district. When I was in the state house, it was Hurricane Irma went through my district. And so I've actually been on the ground through both storms and seen up close and personal. First thing I'll tell you is that the governor has been great at this. He's done a tremendous job. A lot of this is pre-positioning assets early and then making clear decisions very, very quickly. You want to make sure that you're getting your roadways up and running, power restored as much as you can. Those first 3 days, those first 72 hours are critical in this. But it starts with planning ahead of time, making sure you have assets ready to deploy so that when that storm leaves, you move in immediately. You start getting roads clear. You start getting some of the key infrastructure back up and running. You have to have seamless communications between the state Department of Emergency Management and the local EOCs that every county in our state has. Make sure that there's clear lines of communications at all time. And at the end of the day, you got to be completely hands-on. You have to call balls and strikes in the moment. You can't hesitate. And that's where I think in terms of getting another storm, we're going to get another storm eventually. We're living a peninsula. That's a fact of life in Florida. But what we have to do with that fact of life is you got to be prepared ahead of time. You got to execute in the moment, make quick decisions, and get people back up on their feet as quickly as you can. The one thing I would like to see going forward in Florida is doing more about helping individuals clear debris and get back on their feet very quickly. I think there's some new technologies that are being looked at. But if you're dealing with let's say post storm, talking with some companies about could you use drones to do initial analysis of adjusting properties so people can start the claims process faster, get an answer from their insurance company faster, about modernizing permitting and planning during those times so you can get quick decisions from local government and state government if necessary, so you can actually get these projects, these buildings repaired as quickly as they can, getting somebody's home repaired as quickly as they can. These are the things that we're going to have to think about and really step into the future on. I think the technology has met the moment. I think you add that to the success we already have on how the state manages storm recovery. But the number one thing, got to be on the ground. You got to make decisions quickly. You can't equivocate. Get the information, make a decision, and make sure that the results are being met on the ground.
Now, Congressman Donalds, you've done an amazing job. And I remember when I met you, you were running for office. I think I was running as well. We met down in Palm Beach at a President Trump rally. And many people were telling me, you got to meet this guy. You got to meet this guy. He really works hard. He listens to the people. You have always done that on the state and on the federal level. You made it really easy, very accessible. How would you improve the state in the governor position? How would you improve that, the communication and people to be able to have their voice heard or be able to interact with you or your office?
I mean, look, what I'll say about me is I've always had an open door policy. I meet with just about anybody, all sides of an issue. I want to have that dialogue. I want to have that knowledge base in order to step through and have a solution. I think that's important. I think you just continue that. In terms of with the local stakeholders, local governments, counties, cities, I think having that kind of a philosophy where you're engaging them directly. I think when it comes to some of the key things, this is internal modernization of our government. The way I say it is government can no longer move at the speed of government. Government needs to be moving at the speed of business. What that's going to mean is that the governor's office is going to have to be working very closely with cities and counties about how are we going to modernize their systems while also modernizing state government as well. I think that regional planning is going to be very important for the future of our state. Look, Florida, everybody who knows who lives in Florida, we really are like seven states in one state. You got Southwest Florida, you got Miami-Dade, Broward, Palm Beach. Stephen Ross, the owner of the Dolphins, calls that the Gold Coast. You got the I-4 corridor, Tampa Bay, the Heartland, Duval, Northeast Florida, and of course the Panhandle. Each region's very different. So I think what you want to do is the governor's office working with the regions and the officials in these various counties in that region to start having synergy about road construction, synergy about ordinances, synergy about permitting and planning timelines, synergy about how we interface with businesses and how we innovate, how we deal with our citizens, so that we are bringing down the governmental time of responding, so that people have more access, people have more response, people can make decisions for their lives. I think that's a step that Florida needs to take going into the future. It's one of the things I'm very excited about potentially being the state's next governor.
Now, Congressman Donalds, you've had your battles with Nancy Pelosi. You've had your battles with AOC and some of the others, which have been pretty entertaining on their level, on their side. On your side, it's been a lot of logic. You've already got a governor now that's declared war on Florida. He tweeted out during the election in Miami, "Florida's ours to take." This is Governor Gavin Newsom. You know he's going to be running
Whatever.
in 2028. DeSantis has stood him down. And
Yeah.
what's your feel on someone coming in and trying to infiltrate? How would you stand? I mean, we've seen people literally go to California and address
Yeah.
issues and address problems. We were affected. I remember as a commissioner, many of their commissioners were telling me, we need money, trying to get it. And I said, Florida's fine. And they said, well, yeah, but y'all are stepping over dead bodies in Florida during COVID. And I said, I just left
It's
there.
not
We haven't
true.
seen any. So
Yeah.
you got all this propaganda. How are you as governor going to stand up against someone like that who is going to be all cards in because he's going to be running for president in 2028?
Oh, listen, first of all, when it comes to Gavin Newsom, I'm not afraid, Gavin. Come find me anywhere you are. I'm here, not going anywhere. Number two, the policies that I support, the policies that have made Florida the best state in the country, they're not changing. And so if Gavin wants to come to Florida and campaign, he'll be quickly reminded that he's the worst governor in America. There is no way he's going to become the president of the United States. Because why would we have the worst governor run the country? Makes no sense at all, especially when you break down the facts. And Gavin can't stand on the facts. Nice hair though, but can't stand on the facts. So I'm not worried about him. I think again, this is about communicating to the people, communicating to voters. Explain what you're going to do, explain why you're going to do it, demonstrate the success that Florida already has been, and you keep the trains moving. You keep Florida going in the same direction. That's why people continue to choose our state. I think the governor said it. I think the governor said it when the two of them debated a couple of years ago. I think it was him, about how Gavin's parents live in Florida. So if you were doing such a bang up job, why aren't they living in California? I'll leave that alone. I'm not going to address it anymore. But I'm not really concerned about him or AOC or anybody else. If they think that Florida's going to go blue, they got another thing coming. Not going to happen. Not on my watch.
What would you tell the listeners now? How could they help you? How can they help the movement, and what needs to occur in 2026?
Well, first of all, for me and my campaign, I'm very blessed. We have the full endorsement of President Trump, of Governor Scott, of most of the Republican delegation. congressional delegation. I think about 75% of the state delegation. We're very, very blessed. We're doing well. I would tell voters, listen, follow me on social media at Byron Donalds. Go to my website, byrondonalds.com. We're going to start putting up policy on the website over the next couple of months as we start really getting into the campaign season. But I'm going to be coming to a city near you, a county by you. We've already been in 50 counties across the state of Florida, 50. And we're going to get to every county in the state. We've held, I think now about 6 or maybe even 7 meet the candidate events around the state of Florida. We're going to keep doing those. The last one we did was actually in Apalachicola in Franklin County. It was great to be up there, and it was a great afternoon. My wife was there. She even gave the closing remarks. I just said, you know what, honey, here you go, take the mic. You say whatever you're going to say. And she looks at me and she goes, I wasn't planning to speak. And I said, that's okay. I know you got it. So it was a great event. So we're going to be crisscrossing the state. We're going to be in every county. And the only thing I would ask for the people of Florida, I'm one of the most conservative members in Congress, one of the most conservative members from my time in the state house. My record speaks for itself. I would ask you to just go through it all. Ask me whatever questions you want. Come to one of our meetings. It is an open session. You can ask whatever you want. I'll stand there and answer all questions. But I want to have your votes. I want to have your support because I believe Florida is the crown jewel of the United States of America. I fully believe it. I moved to this state at 17 years old, coming from New York to go to college in Florida. I'm 47 years old now. Everything I've done in my life has been built in Florida. I love this state. And when I'm 77 years old, 30 years into the future, I want Florida to remain the crown jewel. So everything I do is going to be about making sure Florida is the very best state in America and that everybody can chase the American dream in the great state of Florida.
Congressman Donalds, you reminded me of one more question I wanted to ask. The
Sure.
mayor in Miami, the mayor-elect, just declared she was going to break down ICE and stop supporting them. How important of a role is that for the governor, and what can you do to combat that? Because what I think that individual doesn't realize is the same thing the New York mayor doesn't. That's one city in this whole state, and we visit there. We want to feel safe there. We want to go there and not worry. Our families, some of our families live there. How would you as governor address someone like that starts that?
She would be told directly she does not have the authority to change her policy because cooperating with the 287G program in the federal government is state law. And she will be reminded that as a public official, she has a responsibility to execute the laws of the state of Florida. And if she doesn't, and if she chooses to subvert those laws, then she can be removed.
So a lot of people in Miami, their family and friends can rest assured you'll be there to fight for them as well.
That's right.
Congressman Donalds, I want to thank you for joining us. And I'm going to get back to this beautiful weather. We've got this amazing thing called sunshine down here, and it's about to go in. But, we're able to enjoy it in this state because of leaders like you and people like you. I wish you the continued success. I love that you're up for the fight. I think it's very crucial, especially in that top position for the state of Florida, to have someone strong and that's not going to buckle down to a crazy governor with good hair out west.
He does have good hair. I got to give him that. He's got good hair.
Yeah, you got to give him. But I want to thank you for joining us and invite you on anytime. We got a little time before the election. You're welcomed on anytime, and look forward to seeing you and continued success.
Awesome. Listen, thank you, Joe. God bless. Enjoy the sunshine. Enjoy that sunset. See ya.